Hey guys, thanks for joining me. And if you like what you see, please subscribe.
Hello, peoples. Welcome to Sharp Ends. Today I'm talking about this VBR from Varga Knives in M390. This is the larger version of this, and it's a bolster lock. I've never taken one apart, and so that should be interesting. I don't think it'll prove to be that difficult for me, but we'll see what's inside. This is in preparation for a full review. Very nice materials. I got this on pre-order. This is carbon inlays here, and then it's full titanium, and it's got these nice pivots with the collars on them. It's a flipper knife, as well as the thumb studs work very nicely, and it's got a milled clip. It's just all around just great materials, something I jumped on when I saw, and I'm sure that this will be coming out again, so we're going to go ahead and do a disassembly on this. Usually what I do is I do a sped up version of this disassembly, but today, since this is the first time I've been doing one of these types of knives, as bolster lock, I've decided to go ahead and do more of a traditional, slower version where I go through each part of this. This comes off, and you can actually buy replacement scales for this. So I knew I needed to take this off in order to get to the back spacer, and that is what I've done. And I should also go ahead and note, okay, so I thought it was all the same, but apparently the scales are T8, but it looks like the hardware, and I know the pivot's T8 because I checked it before, but it looks like the inside screws are going to be T6s maybe? See what we got here. Yeah, they're going to be T6. So I like it when all the hardware on a knife is matching, but it doesn't often happen, and it's not the end of the world either. This back spacer, instead of the barrel bolts, is fine. I like it. I like that a lot, and it's got this nice little jimping on the inside here. And I'm laying everything out according to where I take it off. Which means that in my case, I put the pivot over here and then I work down. And right now I'm taking off the back part first before I do the pivot. I usually work the other way around. I'm not sure why I'm doing it this way, but that's the way I'm doing it this time. Now I'm going to switch over to the T8. Most of the time I remove this hardware with starting from the pivot working down, but today I'm doing it the opposite way. It does seem like it's a locking pivot, and I'm feeling some definite tension now. This knife is just coming apart by itself. So the pivot is pushing out for some reason. Oh, I guess that's because of the bolster lock. That's why it's doing that. And it is pushing so much. I'm going to go ahead and move the knife open so the pivot, so the lock bar bolster lock isn't pushing, and then we're apart. It has not only two screws back there locking it in, but it has two spacers too. This one's locked in here at the back on this scale. Not spacers, but pin. I'm going to leave that there, and it has another pin here. That pin there is the overstop protection that goes right there, and we do not have phosphor bronze. That's very interesting to me. 9 times out of 10, I've always dealt with phosphor bronze, but it looks like, oh, I see what's going on. Well, we've got, this is running on bearings, but instead of having the bearing run on the titanium, we've got a little steel, stainless steel, I'm assuming, washer here, which the bearing is running on. Very interesting. All right, so looking on the inside, there's no internal milling here, which this knife is almost perfectly balanced, so I'm not too worried about that, but it's just a interesting little fact here. We've got two. All right, so cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and remove this washer here from the inside, and I'm paying attention. That's interesting. The so basically what we've got is the non-pressed side. Can I get that focused? The non-pressed side right here is running against the knife, and then the pressed side or the cupped side is running against the knife itself, or against the outer part, the steel washers. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take some alcohol, and I'm going to take a Q-tip, and I'm going to go ahead and clean this up. Doesn't seem to be much dirt. I have been carrying this knife in preparation for my review for the last month or so, so I expected a little bit more dirt than this, but it's not there. This is M390. M390 is an absolutely fine steel for me. It's nothing exciting at this point, which means that we're living in an age of prosperity and greatness. Because to just be blasé about M390, I think says a lot about the knife community at the moment. And then I'm going to wash off these guys. You can see a little bit of grease and dirt here coming off on the Q-tip, which is fine. And I'm just going to rub this around here. It doesn't seem like there was much oil at all on this. And then I'm going to go ahead and clean this off. This is a ceramic flattened detent on here, is what they call it. And I have to say the detent on this knife is absolutely excellent. For my purposes, what I like, it is great. I'm going to go ahead and take the pivot out. How was this locking, or was it not locking? I mean, it came out without me having to have a screw on the other side. So I said it was locking, but I don't see how it was locking. There's no divot here. There's no D-ring shaped on this guy. And the head seems perfectly symmetrical, so that's odd to me. And then I'm going to take my little pry bar, my little spring bar tool from my watch kit, which I really like this little guy for this kind of thing. I'm going to go ahead and get the other side of the Q-tip up here, clean this off here, and clean this guy here. I'm not going to remove the bearing from this side, the steel bearing, because I don't really think I need to get under there and clean that off. Like I said, no internal milling. Seems very clean to me. And then, oh, look at that. So the bolster lock has an overstop, and the overstop is built in here, but it's hidden, which is, I think, pretty darn cool. Do you see that? How it's hidden in there, the overstop protection? I think you have to be a beast to overstop to really, make that matter, but it's cool to see. And now I need some grease. I'm going to start putting it together. So what do I think so far about this? I think this is built very, very well. It's a nice hollow grind on the blade. I really like the way that it looks and the way it feels. And like I said, the action is absolutely phenomenal on this. Putting just a little bit of grease there. And then I'm going to put a little bit of grease on the inside of the pivot here in the middle. And I didn't show you beforehand before I started this process, but this was absolutely perfectly centered. So we'll see if I can not mess that up and make it all happy when I get done. And then I want to go ahead and put this bearing on, because this is the bearing that came from that side. I usually keep track of where I put my bearings. I put some grease on the steel side, so now I'm just going to put 1 or 2 drops here on the bearing side. I don't want to put too much on there because I do not want it accidentally pushing against the I don't want it pushing accidentally against the I've lost my train of thought. I don't want the extra grease to go and get in here on the detent or the lock bar is what I was trying to say. And the reason I don't want that is because that will create lock stick. And now I'm going to put, well, I guess I could just go ahead and take my other bearing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some here on the inner trackway. Oh, that was a little bit too much, honestly. A little here. Although I probably don't need it given how much I put on the inside. And then I'm going to take my other washer. Where did I put my other washer? Or did I already put that? Oh, I already put it on. It happens to be there. Is that going to fall off? Yeah, that's going to fall off. So I'm just going to put that on here. There we go. And now this guy here is the overstop, and it rides inside of this guy right here, and there's a little place for it to lock in over there. And the pins are all in right now, so this pin needs to go in where does it need to go? It needs to go in this hole right here. And this is actually what you tie your lanyard onto. And let's get that on. Good. And then I need to lock in the back part, and I need to lock in this mid back spacer as well. Good, good. Looking good so far. Now I'm going to release, this is overlocked right now on the bolster lock, so I'm going to push it out just a little bit, and then that will all snap together. If you don't do that and try to force it in there, you're going to have big trouble. So make sure that at that one part where you start to put it together, I'm squeezing it now, that you go ahead and disengage the bolster lock so that it all fits together. And I'm going to go in reverse order now. The pivot came out really smoothly and easily, making me think that I need to go ahead and put just a little bit of Loctite. And this is the light Loctite stuff. All links down below in my description. And I'm going to apply it on the inside of the thread instead of on the threads of the screw. I'm going to put it in the bolt part. And I'm keeping constant pressure on this as I assemble it because, like I said, there's pressure now from the bolster lock there. And I'm going to tighten this down. I don't want it to miss thread, so right now I'm kind of doing this once or twice to make sure we don't miss thread this, because I feel a little bit of tension. There we go. Okay, we got it. No tension there. If you feel any kind of resistance putting in a screw, you need to stop because you could be misthreading it, and that would be bad. And I'm going to go ahead and tighten this probably past where it needs to be. And again, I'm going to move that bolster lock out of the way, and then I'm going to line up this back spacer. You'll see the screw isn't quite in there, and I'm going to line that up perfectly there. And again, I'm going to apply just a smidgen of Loctite inside of this thread and this thread. Really, you don't need a much at all. When you're done with Loctite, when you put a knife together back with Loctite, after you're done testing it and getting the tension and the centering all right, you want to make sure that you go ahead and let that sit for 24 hours before you carry it. Let the Loctite settle in there. Otherwise, you could have a problem. I'm going to go ahead and switch over now to my smaller bit here, the T6 for these back guys. As I recall, these were T6s, and I've kept everything in order, and I just realized that I actually put this screw in the wrong spot. This guy is supposed to be in here, so I'm working from the pivot out. Tighten that down, and that's nice and tight. And I might have to redo this all depending on what the centerness of the blade is and the tension, all that good stuff. Now, before I put the bolster on, I'm going to go ahead and test the centerness of this, and ignore the carbon fiber, but that is pretty much screaming right on there. And what is the detent feels fine, and that pivot I thought might be overlocked, but because it's on bearings rather than washers, it's just riding smoothly. Very clean, nice engineering on all those parts. And then I just need to go ahead and put the bolster on. And for this, I'm not going to worry about Loctite for this. I'm just going to tighten it up nice and snug and go from there. Now, these were T8s, as I recall, so I'm going to switch back over to my T8s bit to put the scales back on, as it were. They do have zirconium and other types of scales for this. I got the carbon fiber because I thought it looked good. It was a little bit cheaper, and I didn't know how much I'd like this. I might go ahead and upgrade this one day. I do indeed like this knife a lot. So yeah, that action is just so clean and smooth, and it just, I'm disengaging it now. We're on the ramp of the ceramic detent ball, and it's just dropping shut very nicely. The thumb studs work very well for this. Yeah, this is just a clean, nice design, and I really enjoy it. And I'm going to now go ahead and do my review of this, which will come out a couple of days after this disassembly and maintenance video. Thanks so much for joining me today. If you liked what you saw, please like and subscribe. Links to all the stuff I used are down below. And if you want to be entered to win a knife knife of the month, all you have to do is become a Patreon subscriber or join me down below as a Facebook member. Patreon gives me a little bit more money, and it's only $3 a month. So I'd really appreciate if you could take the time to do that. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you next time on Sharp Ends. Bye-bye now.